Hey everybody, it's B.R.A.C. Basic Revelations After Conversations, episode 4, part 2. We're on this road trip, 8 hours. We may as well talk about some stuff and be productive, right? So me and the kids are just having these conversations about all the stuff that's been going on in regards to racial injustice, etc. And everybody in this car has been to at least one protest. And so I want to get an idea from the young people in the car, what they thought about the protests. Arissa and Nikki actually were at the first one in Atlanta right before all the chaos broke out. So I'm going to let them talk first about their experience and what they saw that first night, that Friday, right after the situation broke out in Atlanta. So, Nikki, Arissa, y'all talk to me about what y'all saw down there.
I really thought it was such a good experience. What we saw a lot of was a lot of emotion, and a lot of coming together. They spoke a lot, which wasn't, I don't know if people saw that on the TV, but there was a whole part in, was it Piedmont Park, where they were just talking about the steps we need to take and how we need to come together in Centennial, and I really appreciated that. And then there was yelling, they were yelling at the police and everything, but it was really emotion about how they wanted things to change and what the cops were going to do. And the cops started talking to people, and people were having conversations more than, and coming together. And I really appreciated that. And we even felt emotional, and I think you felt the history behind it, because people had walked before us, and we were just really happy to be a part of the movement. But there were so many different types of people there too.
Yeah.
Which was really cool, old people, young people, the LGBT community, white people, black people, everybody was there. And I really felt that then when I was like, wow, we're really trying to do something here. People actually care, and I think that was really exciting.
Yeah, it was really powerful. And I think there was yelling and screaming at the cops, but I think people found that very healing, especially black people there that were sharing their negative experiences with the police. They found that very a healing thing to do.
Yeah.
So
Kind of cathartic, huh?
Yeah.
So when you all were down there, did you experience any of the violence, or did you see it brewing? Did y'all kind of felt it and got out of there before
brewing,
it kicked off? Yeah.
Because more it would be down the street, and so when someone heard that oh, they're pepper spraying down the street, or they're doing something down the street, then everybody would get mad and be like, oh, you're pepper spraying us now, and they would start yelling at the police, and it would get kind of heated, and then it would kind of calm down when nothing happened. But then it was slowly getting more
we left right when we heard the SWAT trucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and as we were leaving, we saw the trucks. We were like, oh shoot, and that's when it escalated.
Yeah.
But even there were parts of it where even when they were speaking in Centennial, the helicopters were being super loud, or we couldn't even hear the speeches.
It felt very intimidating.
And it felt like they were it was like they were intimidating us, and it was, even though it was peaceful. And I think that's kind of what escalates it, honestly, a lot of the time. So, but otherwise it was peaceful. And of course things get crazier when it gets darker, and when people start getting intimidated, and but at the beginning, for the first 6 hours people were out there, it was definitely just peaceful, people coming together, trying to draw attention to the problem that needs to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there intentionally antagonizing the situation.
Oh yeah.
Trying
there were people saying kids down there are getting tear gas, we all need to run down. There were people that were there purely to start some stuff up. But I think for the most part it was people marching, people chanting, people trying to speak their truth.
Yeah. So Ray, what about the one that you went to in Peachtree City? What are your thoughts on that one?
I like that one. I really thought it was powerful, especially since someone so young, who's even younger than me, did the entire thing and was able to get such important people down there to speak about the issue.
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing. And so, I really liked it. And we knelt down for only half the time that George Floyd was pinned down, so I thought that was the most powerful part, and I thought everyone was just really inspired by that.
We did that at my job. We had a Zoom meeting, and toward the middle of the meeting, they paused for 8 minutes, 46 seconds in the middle of the Zoom meeting. Put the clock up for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and everybody just paused, and it was pretty powerful, especially when you think about that man had a knee on his neck for that period of time, and you think about 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That's really not that long of a period of time, or so you think, until you have to sit there and deal with it in silence. In his particular case, in pain, as his breath was leaving his body. So, that made an impact on me. It really did. Sean, what did you think? I know you went to several with me, right? You went to the one in Noonan. I think Peachtree City twice.
Yeah, I think the one in Noonan, there was a lot more talking at the beginning before we started marching about how like the cops were just standing outside and just like cracking jokes to each other rather than like participating. But then with the first one in Peachtree City, the chief of police was actually the one that was, in front of the march. So I thought that was way more impactful, and it actually spoke about, what we're trying to get, what we're aiming towards, rather than what we're fighting, which was, so you see them, we're at the protest in Noonan, you see the cops leaning on their cop cars, just talking to each other, cracking jokes, and they said how they had pizza the day before.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't even invested in. Then when you came to the one in Peachtree City, all the cops were there. They were listening. They were, she literally was in front, and I think that was very powerful, very impactful.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think Chief Moon in Peachtree City kind of set the standard for the way policing is supposed to be done, right? They're sworn to protect and serve, not to brutalize, right? There's going to be situations where they've got to, put the hammer down, and we understand that. But most of the situations that they're in, she's training her force to de-escalate as best as they possibly can. And so we had a great conversation about that. And I think a lot of these police forces aren't doing that. And I think that's why you're seeing what you're seeing in across America. It's the same story. They're not getting properly trained. You got people that have mental issues themselves, trying to police people that have mental issues. So they have no way of being able to de-escalate a situation, and it just exacerbates the problem rather than de-escalating it. So I definitely see what you're saying there, and you're right.
Like you said, it seems like some just don't care, and if you don't care, you're not going to work towards, making it better.
Exactly.
And it's crazy that we have people on the force that, don't have a deep sense and a deep empathy for the people they're working for, the people they're protecting.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they're doing it for the right reasons, and I think that could be part of the reform of seeing the real reasons of why these people want to be in the police force.
Yeah.
Some of them it's not for good reasons, and that's showing because they don't seem to care. Some of them, and some do, and you can really see the difference just in two different protests. Think about, our nation and the different forces. So.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, we got this problem with police leaving when they have an issue, or they've been reprimanded, or they get fired. They leave and they go to another police department that doesn't do a thorough background check. Now, I've been in corporate America for almost 30 years, and everywhere you go, they check references, right? So if my reputation was jacked up at company A, I couldn't get a job at company B, or it's going to be much harder. But it seems like there is no true background check. Case in point, we had individuals from Atlanta now in Coweta. So they moved from APD to the Coweta Sheriff Department, and now what do? Now we got the Atlanta guys that had issues in our backyard now, right? Literally in the county next to us. We now have to deal with, I don't know how many.
It should not be allowed to happen.
It should be. And that's what I don't understand. And that's the problem that we have right now. And these are known people. These are people like in the media spotlight right now, and they were still able to get a job immediately, and that's a problem. That's a major problem, and that's one thing I'm thankful for with the police department that we have, is that they do an extremely thorough background check. She talked to me about some of the process that they go through. If every police department went through that, man, it would be so much different. It would be so much different. The police departments might be smaller because you have less people that qualify, but at least they would be, people that are not just certified but qualified to do the job. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
So, have y'all had any type of run-ins yourselves with the police? Anything that you can think of that,
I mean, I've been pulled over with her before, and like we had pulled out. We were near the Taco Mac.
Mhm.
They followed us all the way down to Taco Bell.
For no reason.
And I knew they were behind me, so I was trying to drive perfectly. And then when they pulled us over, like they said, my lights weren't on. When I knew my lights were on, because I'd turned my lights on to look at a store, and then I pulled out. So I
Right.
knew my lights were on when they saw me, and they said I was swerving. I was like, but I knew you were behind me the whole time. And then they let me off with a
And at that point, Arissa had been pulled over 3 times, and I had never been pulled over.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she had her license like 5-6 months before me,
And then-
in high school. So,
Yeah. And then another time with Avery, and the guy tried, me and Avery had eaten ice cream before we got in the car, so our wrappers were in the glove compartment.
Right.
And he was like, what's in those wrappers? And he had us like open the wrappers so he could shine the light on the ice cream wrappers. And it was just like, and Avery, again, knew he was behind him, and Avery was driving perfectly, and he still pulled us over. It's
Yeah.
like,
So let me go back to what you just said, Nikki. How many times had Arissa been pulled over?
I think like 3 years.
How many times have you been pulled over?
0.
Same town, right?
Yep.
Try to tell y'all.
those are the only times.
Y'all not listening to me. I'm telling you, this is the stuff we deal with. How many times, Arissa?
3.
How many times, Nikki?
0.
And that's the problem. And that's what we talk about. And America does not want to admit that that's an issue. It is an issue. And if it's happening in little suburbia that we live in, Peachtree City, it's exponentially worse in urban America. The interaction with the police department is not serving and protecting. It's harassment many times, no matter what you're doing. That's why Elijah McClain is dead now. Walking home from the store because somebody called and said he looked suspicious. No crime had been committed, and no crime had been called in by the store that he left. But somebody saw him walking and said he looked suspicious. What the heck does it mean looking suspicious? That's what I want to know. What is suspicious? That's a subjective rationale. Being suspicious. So anyway, I don't want to get off the subject, but I'm gonna get a little riled up here. But the fact that I know now that my daughter got pulled over 3 times, why didn't you tell me? You didn't tell me. I didn't know. Because she knew I'd have been mad. She knew I'd have been mad.
But
That's
also,
why.
it's a thing where it's like, we knew that was going to happen. Like, I never told you because it's like, we know that's what happened. And it's
Yeah.
sad that that's normalized, and that's part of the problem, that so many of these things are just like things we deal with and things that we've like, oh, this is just part of our lives as a black person in America, but it shouldn't be something we just have to accept.
Hey, look, y'all heard it directly from them. Not from me this time. That was from them. Understand that there is an issue that we have to address, and we have to get this problem fixed. And it, again, needs to be addressed at the federal level. The judicial branch needs to resolve this problem at that level. That's the chief law enforcement officer of this nation. He needs to fix it at his level so it can trickle down into the local communities. Hey, this is B.R.A.C. Episode 4, Part 2. We out. Peace.